Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another House Salt book club and live show. For those of you who might be joining us for the first time, House Salt is just us, this group of friends that met through BookTube, and we decided it would be fun to bring our love of reading and books and saltiness and our very, very, very different opinions on books to a live show and a book club. So our May book selection is The Selection by Kiera Cass. And we know that things are still crazy. The last few that we've done have been in isolation, and just currently with everything going on in the world and specifically in the American news cycle, if you have, the ability and the privilege of taking a break, we're really appreciative that you're here with us watching and taking a break with us. So it's going to be a doozy because, like I said, we read The Selection by Kiera Cass. So I'm going to ask my friends to introduce themselves and tell us what they rated the book. And also, it's a little later in the day, so some of us are drinking. We're all of age, and we're drinking responsibly because we're going freaking nowhere. So hello, I'm Maddie. I'm from the channel. My name is Maddie Ness, and I'm having a cider in isolation. So cheers.
Hi, I'm Paige. I'm from Minimal Bookie, and I rated this book because we are also doing ratings, right? 2.5 stars, just a solid run-of-the-mill middle, and I'm drinking rosé.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm from Bookadoodles, and and I rated The Selection. This is my second time reading, and I rated it 1.5 stars this time. And I would sooner rather rewatch Game of Thrones season 8 than read this book again. And I'm drinking icy tea because I'm boring.
Jordan.
Jordan.
I'm Jordan. I'm from the channel, The Jordan Journals. I rated this book. I've read it twice now. I rated it a 4 the first time, and this time I rated it a 3. And I am also drinking, and I have White Claws.
My name is Lainey, and I'm from Ginger Reads Lainey, and this is the second time I've read this book, and I think it's the same as Jordan. I think I first read it as a 4-star, and having just finished it a couple hours ago, it's a 3-star book.
Hi,
and I'm drinking. I have a margarita, and I chose a light up.
Oh, nah.
I'm feeling fancy.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm from the channel Connor O'Brien, and I read The Selection for the first time this time, and I gave it 2 stars. I didn't really enjoy it. And I am drinking White Claw as well. I might switch to something else at some point, though.
Hi, I'm Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. This is my first time reading it as well. When I first finished it, I thought it was a 2. And then when I did my review on Goodreads, it was a 1. Because I revealed exactly how bad it is. And I'm drinking a Malbec.
Nice.
Yeah, I forgot to say. I told everybody what to do, and then I forgot to say. This is the second time that I read The Selection. The first time I read it, I think I gave it a 2-star. Something like that. And the thing with this book is that it's not like offensively bad, but it ain't good. And the more that you think about it, the more you're like, wow, that was like really, really not good. But it's not as bad as like other things I've given 1 star. So I would say it's like a 1.5 star. It's like what I'm feeling. So
that's really nice of you. To say, because I felt like it's not offensive. I mean, there's some problems that we're going to talk about that are kind of offensive, but like generally speaking, it's not the most offensive book that I've read, but the lack of anything is what made me give it a 1 star. I'm like, what am I even rating?
Right. If you think about it, for more than a second, you're like, nope, stop.
No, this is shallow. This is a very shallow pond. Don't go any deeper.
So I know some of you already mentioned like what you gave it before and what you gave it now, but it has, just for context, did anybody continue with the series? Like, how well versed are you in the whole Selection verse, I guess?
Okay, Paige is more offensive.
I read it before in one sitting, and I did that again for this, and I regret all my choices. I got angrier the further I read because it just kept getting worse, because apparently she didn't plot the series. She just sat down and wrote by the seat of her pants. And you can tell. You can tell. So my opinion is definitely worsened with the second read. Yeah.
I just finished it maybe like an hour ago, and I wouldn't be opposed to reading the other two, but I will never reread the fourth and fifth book ever again because they are just dead to me. They don't exist.
They're terrible. I read the original trilogy. It was like the books that like I started just as I was starting my channel. So like in a way, there's just like a little bit nostalgia like attached to it, and it is still like a guilty read, but there's not a lot. It's like a sandwich with nothing inside of it, just the bread.
I'm like the same as Lainey. Like these are the books that were like popular when I first joined BookTube. So there is the nostalgia factor. I read all three, but I don't think I would reread the other two again. It's not the best. And America Singer is still so annoying. Like I didn't like her the first
Wonder Bread of books.
When Lainey said it was a sandwich with nothing, I'm like, it's a butter sandwich. Like it's butter sandwich.
And it's not smart enough to just toast itself. So it's just really
Okay, to be like fair to, I mean, I guess not fair, but we always are approaching the books that we pick like earnestly. Like we're never picking a book like to roast it, I guess. And the reason that we picked this, like the selection was, well, first we wanted a backlist book, and then we were like, what if we read something that was like really popular on BookTube back in the day? Like that would be fun. And also when we picked this a month ago, obviously we're all in like isolation. We were like, we just need like a popcorn read. We need like a cotton candy fluffy read, something that's not going to make us angry. So it's just like, really chill and easy. So that's why we went with the selection. Obviously some of us liked it okay with like 3 stars. Things have changed over the last month that it actually made me angry how nothing this was. Like I thought it would be soothing, like the balm to my soul. I was incorrect. I was upset by how nothing this was.
Isn't it supposed to be a TV show coming up here?
Yes.
Like I'll watch the TV show. I love a good fluff, trash, rain like show. I'll watch it.
They're going to have to add, I mean, it's true for any, I guess, TV show. They're going to have to add so much to make it a TV show and not like a 1-hour TV movie.
They're going to have to really make her struggle because she doesn't really struggle in this. She just is there.
Well, I think when I finished it, I was like, I would watch the show, even though I hate The Bachelor. So like, they're going to like roast my brain. But like, you can do a lot with like more of the drama and the dating part of it that they didn't show. And they'll probably amp up the rebels like a ton more. So I think they'll give it like they'll give it everything it lacked. Like they'll give it a plot and world building and probably interesting characters and everything. Like this is like an outline almost of like, hey, here's what we want to do.
This was a 330 whatever page introduction to some other story. This was just the introduction to some freaking story we haven't gotten yet. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So we're gonna start with characters like we usually do. And so main character, let's start with our girl, America Singer. How did you guys feel about her as a main character?
Frustrating.
Yeah.
She's so frustrating. It is so hard to read about her in her internal monologue because she's like, I'm not very pretty, but I have a sister who looks just like me and she's gorgeous. I'm like, then that means that you're gorgeous too. And she's like, I'm not smart and I'm not good at things, but then she is. It's like,
but what? She can speak like 4 languages.
Yeah.
Which you never see at any point.
And apparently she sings and does music stuff, but she does that like once.
I feel like my problem with her is like, this is also coming because I've read all 3 of the books back to back, is she's like the catalyst for like change happening in Ilya, but everything she does to create change is like because she's angry or like a selfish reason, like she's doing something because she feels upset about the situation. So it was like bizarre to read what's traditionally about somebody taking action and being active, but she's really passive in the situation. I feel like
her internal monologue whenever she thinks about Maxon is the most annoying to me. I don't know, like I don't think she ever like sympathizes with him or anything. Not that like we should sympathize with Maxon or anything like that, but like just like towards the end, even when he was getting mad at her, rightfully so at times, and she was like, why is he so mad at me? And I love Aspen. I can't do it. Like I can't do it.
Yeah, this book definitely reeks of like the not like other girls syndrome as well. Like it is very much of its time in that it was coming, shortly after Twilight, and so it was this like self-insert thing where like every girl could just kind of like put herself in America's position, sort of, and it was just, yeah, I'm not very pretty. I don't care about this. It was very beating you over the head with like, I don't care about any of this, and that therefore makes me like the best choice, obviously, because she'd be like, I don't care about this, and then she's doing all of these things like correctly, like saying hi to people in the airport and doing all this stuff. She's like, well, I don't really want to be here, so I'm the ideal person. Or she made fun a lot of the other girls as like makeup, and it was very much like, I just wear lip gloss and mascara, and I'm like, good for you. You can tell. So yeah, it was just like a lot of that not like other girls stuff that then made her somehow superior and like the best choice. That was really annoying. So like I didn't actively hate her, I don't think, as I was reading it, but it was again post that I was just like, ugh. But also I listened to it on audiobook on 4-speed, so I didn't miss anything. I don't feel like I missed anything. I just was like, okay, yeah, like I'm really not, I could probably speed this up even more at this point, like yeah. So I didn't
the
stick with her as long.
With America's character was that there was a lack of change. She is still the same person as she was at the end of the book, except she's just surrounded by a little bit more wealth. But also she's like a redhead, so like I automatically kind of like her because of that.
And the traditional redhead has the temper trope is thrown in there too.
But I didn't hate her, but it was hard to like really champion behind her when you didn't really know what she wanted throughout the book.
I tried to be like more aware because I read and reviewed this in 2012 or whatever, and like since then I've learned a lot about like how we talk about like female main characters in books, and anytime somebody says a main character that's a female is like, or that is a woman is annoying, it immediately like puts my hackles up. I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, why would you say? So I was trying to like question myself too about why I originally thought America was annoying. The thing I think that it all comes down to, she's not very like fleshed out as a character, and a lot of what we're really experiencing is like her point of view as a narrator. And one, it was all of that stuff of like, she has makeup on, and everybody she introduced was like, oh, that skinny person, that fat person, and the way she described them, I was like, hey girl, like calm the heck down, learn some people's names. Like, I don't understand why you're this way. And then the other thing is that she is our like entry point into this story, and she was so unobservant. I am listening, I'm getting the story from your point of view, and you don't know what the fuck is going on. You don't even know who you like. You don't even know what you feel. You don't even know what you're good at. You don't even know that you're pretty. You don't know anything. How am I supposed to know anything? I can't get any story from this person as a narrator. All she knows is that she likes to eat. And homegirl, like, is literally all he's giving me in 330 pages. So I think that more than her being like a bad character, she was a really crappy narrator for a story that was, as we've already discussed, like absolutely nothing. So that is my conclusion on America's Singer.
Well, it's told from first person too, so you're like only limited to her head, so you can't gain anything else from the story because it's all up here and she doesn't know anything
at all. She doesn't about herself even, and she has like no perception. She has no point of view. She just has nothing to offer the story. Mm-hmm. It was
I feel like it was her emotional, like lack of emotional depth is what really frustrated me. Is like she never stopped to think about another character and how like the entire situation was affecting that person as well. It was always about like from her perspective, like she's the worst off because she's a 5 in this situation when there were other people also struggling, obviously.
And like going back to like her motivations and stuff for being there, like the selfish motivations, like she talks about her sister a lot, and like all the Hunger Games parallels that are in here, like the tropes and everything that they tried to do. Like I feel like if they would have explored that more, we would have been less annoyed with America because we kind of would have been able to relate to her a little bit better. But they never really like touch on anything family wise. I mean, they do a little bit, but I wish they would have well, not really. I wish I would have, but it would have been better if they would have touched on that more.
Okay, we can kind of, I'm sure we'll circle back around to America's absolute nothingness, but We also have, I guess, we already mentioned that this is like a big time Hunger Games like redux. So we have the Peeta and Gale characters in here as well. Maxon was the prince, and then Aspen is her boyfriend from back home. How did you guys feel? I guess, I don't know. We should talk about them separately, but again, they're just so much nothing. We'll start with Maxon. How do you guys feel about Prince Maxon?
Okay, listen. I really, really liked him the first time I read it. And honestly, I still do, because there's really not that much for me to hate about him. Some of like his like wokeness in the book, reading it now in 2020, I'm like, whatever. But honestly, because I kept thinking, I'm reading a Hunger Games fanfic, I like superimposed Josh Hutcherson onto Maxon, and then that was all I could picture. And I'm like, I can't hate him when it's fucking Peeta. Like,
I was laughing so hard because there's this whole like monologue about Maxon's arms and how like strong they are, and I could not think that they're talking about Peeta and how manually and strong he is as he's throwing around bags of flour.
Okay, but it's Peeta. If Peeta were the prince of the capital. Completely against the whole concept of the Hunger Games. What if Peeta were the prince of the capital? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I guess I can say that I liked him more than Aspen. That's
Barely.
Yes.
I think that it's hard to like really hate him just because he doesn't know anything. He's just like America's Singer. Like, he's been molded into this role, but he's like never talked to anyone apparently. So like he doesn't really know the like actual like status of their country, and he like never talks to women apparently. So he doesn't. So I don't really understand that, but I just feel like he's so naive and just doesn't know anything to have like any strong opinion about anything. So you don't really know what he's doing and what he wants either. He just wants to be a good person apparently. That's like hard to hate, but that was like it.
Hard to hate. So I don't know if that's true. I think he has such wet blanket energy. Like he has such wet blanket energy that as soon as he started calling everyone dear, I'm like, get fucked.
Yeah.
Like I like immediately I was like, that's so condescending. So I feel like what sucks about both of them is that Maxon is like a nice guy and Aspen is a fuckboy. And they both suck. Like both are bad. So yeah, like Maxon's naiveness as a ruler, which I get, there's a lot of stories are like, oh, they've been kept from whatever. But it's that, and also like, I can't handle women crying. I'm like, stop, please, dear God, stop. Like this whole like women are different beings. They're like aliens from another planet. I'm like, I need you to just like completely step back, sir. So that's annoying. And also I come into it with deep Bachelor hate because my mom makes me watch it while I'm living here and I need it. So like, I'm just very triggered by The Bachelor, and just having these like situations where this dude dating a bunch of women, I'm just like, no, you don't get to be in a place of power and have all these women like fighting over you. Absolutely not. So I don't like him, but mostly because he's boring, but also because he's a drip.
I feel like the first time he's introduced, he also talks so differently than how he does for the rest of the book. He reminded me of like the guy who plays the prince in the Vanessa Hudgens Princess Switch movie, because he's very obviously American, but he's trying to sound British, and it threw me off for the rest of the book. But first book Maxon is like the least offensive of the entire series.
Great.
He was nice. I just, it's yes, he was the least offensive. He's way better than Aspen to me as well. But it was that very like, whoa, girls thing that it was just like, when it was like, oh, just pat them on the shoulder if somebody's crying, like, excuse you.
Is now a good time to pat you on the shoulder? Is now a good time?
I would deck somebody in the face if that's what I was crying. They were like, stop it, please, immediately. So there were a lot of things like that that were just like, it's fine. But yeah, he tried to be a nice person, I guess, and he had good intentions I guess. It's really hard to talk about any of these people like they were well developed.
Yes.
So
I think it's also the thing that like nothing happens in this, so you don't actually see them.
all right,
doing
so
all that much.
I guess we already put him at the bottom of the list, but anybody have anything else to say about Aspen?
When I read this book the first time, when I gave it a higher rating, I didn't understand the point of Aspen. So like this time I really was like, why are you even here? Like, I cannot stand you.
It's almost like he was a motivation for her to like get into the selection because she wanted to get away from him, which is just.
But I feel like her mom could have done the same thing. Like her mom could have pushed her into the selection the same way that Aspen did.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a little bit of a defense for Aspen, even though I do hate him, and I do think he's a fuckboy, and I do think that he is really Gail, who feels like he like owed to have America like for himself, which I hate, and that's exactly how Gail felt about Katniss. But I did like towards the end when he came back, because I was getting a little mad that like Maxon is like with all these girls, and then I'm like, America should have a little plaything. So in comes Aspen, and I'm like, girl, you can have fun now.
I couldn't believe. Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I think I remember like a couple of years ago, or like 7 years, whenever the first time we were at YALLFest, you were talking about Katniss the exact same way. You're like, why does she just play the field?
I don't see any problem with that. She's not committed to any of them. So just like, have fun. You're young.
It's like Cleo and Jonas in Fallen Kingdom.
Any love triangle, both.
You're leading a revolution. Just let your hair down. Just have some fun.
I couldn't believe Maxon wasn't smart enough to put together that the guard that America sees is Aspen, like the boyfriend that she left from home, and like her reaction.
They're like,
I know. She's like, oh my God. And then she doesn't talk for the rest of their date. And he's like, what's wrong?
didn't like the movie. The whole Aspen thing, yeah, it's weird that whole, I don't know, we're supposed to believe that she's like super torn and in love with this guy that I have no feelings about, and we don't really know why they like each other. They make out a lot, which I get that. That's fun. But, if somebody's like, hey, you got to leave that dude you make out with to go be a princess, I'd be like, cool. Like,
Later.
there's supposed to be some like depth there that really made us believe that she wouldn't want to be like well taken care of and rich and a princess because she had this other thing, but we were never really introduced to what this other thing was. Because I don't know, so that was weird. And then when he shows up back in the story, and the fact that he just shows back up in the palace was very like eye-rolly to me. It was just kind of very, I don't know, ham-fisted in a way that just didn't feel like a real dramatic twist. It was just kind of like, okay, here we go.
And it was the only twist.
It was the only twist. and then it was a nothing twist because he goes back and then they kiss some more. And then the end is that she falls asleep thinking about how she likes two guys, and then that's the end. So I didn't really understand like his role in the story, and then whatever characterization he got wasn't great either. So he was just a little confusing to me.
Also, like from like the second scene that we see with him, like I was just furious with him because of how he acted when she like had this like all saved up for him and like made this money for him, and he's like, well, I can't accept that, I'm like too prideful or whatever, blah blah blah. Yeah, like from that point on, I was like, what is the point of rooting for you at all?
Yeah, he literally said likes like the gender roles to be very clear.
Yeah,
that's
he literally he said, I'm the man I'm supposed to provide for you. Like, that's a direct quote. And I was like, from this point forward, I literally get out of my
You're gone. You can go away.
Exactly.
I mean, he's in there to be a plot device because without him, it would be one book. Like, it could just be like, okay, so she becomes
I would argue it could still be one book.
Yes.
Yes. But, like, I mean, that's the whole thing is it's supposed to be like the second book is supposed to be like, which one is she gonna pick? And then the third book has the name, the one in it. So you just spoiled the whole end of your book. I mean, I haven't even read them and I know that. So like, it's supposed to add some kind of like, ooh, drama, but it's really not. But at the same time, I'm also like, you know what? I know this is a YA book, and I know that as a teenager, like a young teen, thinking about two boys that are nothing and have no personality, like that's relatable. Like that's what you do when you're like 14. You know, like these worthless,
isn't she
stupid boys. She is supposed to be.
She's like 17, I think.
Yeah.
But it reads so young, and it's so geared for like younger people that it's just like, okay, like I guess that'd be relatable to me when I was 14. I'd be like, okay, so this one hot guy, this one rich guy want to date me. I'm torn. You know?
Okay, so this brings us into kind of like the world building aspect of it, because that's fine. And that is like it sounds great actually. Yeah, rich guy and hot guy want to date me, soldier and prince, who should I pick? Love that. But then it's like, no, but we've got a dystopian, rebels, China, debt. And then you're like, hold on, wait, what are you doing? Why are you writing this stuff? When I think Nicole like said in the comments, like it's a dystopian with nothing to say. And all of that like patriarchal, like the man and is she a virgin and she has to stay a virgin. If you're not a virgin, you get thrown in jail. Obviously it's like elements of this like really dystopian society, but to what end? What are you saying? It was never refuted. It was never like, this is really messed up that he wants to provide for me. She's just like, oh no. And that was it. Why did you set this in like a dystopian society? Like, why those details? It could have just been the prince and the soldier want to bang me. The end.
Perfect. Did anybody feel like reading about even this very small bit she put in there about China and Russia hits different in 2020?
Girl, 100%.
Yeah, like I'm reading it, and I was like, "Oh God!"
I read it quickly, but didn't she say it was like the United States of China or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
China took over because of debt.
I was like, "This is different."
China too much money we couldn't pay back.
It was rough.
It made me feel very icky when that was brought up.
Oh, but also like speaking of like the rebels and stuff, that there were two major scenes with the rebels that we never see, and they just throw furniture around. Like that's just kind of what I gathered. We didn't even see, there was no villain in this book at all. The rebels, okay, but we don't even see one of them.
Yeah, but and then like if we don't understand what the rebels want, so they can't be a villain in the story. Like I don't understand what any source of like antagonism is in the story, that she doesn't want to be there, but then she does. I don't know. And the rebels, like we don't explore. They don't hurt anybody. We don't explore anything that they want. They're just kind of like show up every so often, and then everybody goes into a hidey hole, and we're stuck with America's point of view. So she's just sitting there for an hour, and she's like, "Phew, that's over." Like, what happened?
Like at least the second one, because the second one I feel like was maybe the bigger towards the climax. Maybe, I don't know, but she could have like encountered one of them and like gotten some kind of why are they here, but no, then she just ran into the panic room. But
yeah, it has so many. The rebel thing is never sorted out properly. It
No.
is a constant bane of your existence in the entire series. The way this series wraps up is
It kind of reminds me of Shatter Me, in that like
Yes.
the rebel, like revolutionary dystopian world of it is never expanded upon in the whole series.
And I have a question about the rebels too, but it won't be answered because most of you have not read the rest of the series. There's Northern rebels and Southern rebels, and like from some characters we're introduced to from the South, it's meant to like sound like South America because that becomes part of Ilya, and the Southern rebels are the violent ones. So what's going on there?
I was wondering as I was reading it, because I couldn't remember like the geography of it, because I only reread the first book, but I was thinking like, are they trying to say something about like the race of the Southern people versus that of the Northern? We
never find out.
You don't, but it felt implied.
Yeah, it's because one of the characters comes from like the amalgamation of countries, just like Nicaragua and Paraguay or something, are like joined together, and that's the Southern person we're introduced to. And I'm like, so is this the Southern rebels then? Because that's a problem, sis. We got to talk about that.
There's also that like lack of explanation about their government and how it works, but it kind of makes you try to like sympathize with basically the capital. Like they don't yet, like, yes, you have this caste system, but again, no one comments on it really besides America being like, this sucks for me. But like she doesn't really worry about it in the grand scheme of things. So you kind of have this situation of like, oh, well, like the royals are trying their best though. And so like the book is like, why do people hate them? That's just, it's not nice. And so like, you're just kind of sitting there like, because they're not doing anything. Like, I don't, can you explain what, but no, it's just like, well, yep, let's go to the panic room. And it's a way to like eliminate other girls, really. Like the rebel invasions are more just like, okay, so now some rebels invaded and like 7 girls are gone because they're scared. It's like,
the elimination of the selection girls. Like, if you paid me, if you were right now like, girl, you are unemployed, you got laid off, I have $1 million, all you have to do is name another selection girl, I'd be like,
Ashley, like, think of like a random white girl name is probably true. Like, it's
yeah, because they're so, I mean, there was the bad mean one.
Wasn't one girl's name Tiny?
Celeste. Yeah, Tiny Lee.
Tiny.
Yeah.
If I had phoned a
And
friend,
she was true to her name. She was tiny.
I actually think Celeste is the most interesting.
Yes.
Everybody.
I remember getting so upset because this was billed as like The Hunger Games meets The Bachelor, but it didn't even get The Bachelor right, because the whole thing with The Bachelor is that you get invested in these girls and you're like, who is he gonna like? Who's he gonna pick? But everybody gets eliminated in such a way that it's like either off screen or it's a bunch of girls like that we don't care about. So it's like, oh, 5 more girls went home, and you're like, wait, what? That's what I signed up for. You said it was Bachelor. Like, why are we just speeding past this? I don't understand. So it missed that part. Like, that is the fluffy candy stuff I wanted to have present here, was to get that piece of the game, and it just it doesn't even do that.
Like, they needed to make all the girls have like stronger personalities. In my mind, I'm thinking of like Miss Congeniality, where like all of the other contestants were super strong personalities, and you like liked each one because of their strong personality. And then as they got eliminated, you're like, no, that's what I wanted this to be, but it didn't come close.
Well, they can't have the other girls have a personality because America's perfect. So like, if the other girls like have a personality, like, it'll be like, why the hell is he choosing America? Like, because so they have to make them be like, since America is so nothing, they have to be even more nothing and not even have names. That's what I said.
Because people in the comments are talking about the mean girl Celeste, and they're like, good for her.
Right.
So the character is so nothing, is that when like the one that is clearly telegraphed to be the mean one, we're like, yes, girl, wear all that makeup, put your red lipstick on, tear that girl's dress, because you came to win.
I actually think they become friends later on. I can't remember about their page.
I'm like, I'm here. I got you. Book 3, because she explains herself and why she's so mean.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wait. As soon as that happens, am I allowed to spoil the one? I don't know. Should I spoil the one?
I think they all know what happens.
Yeah, I was watching Paige's vlog today, and I forgot that happened to Celeste.
As soon as they become friends, like a page later, the rebels invade and shoot her right in the face. So
I know. It's one line and it's never mentioned again. I was so angry. Oh my god.
So I forgot that happened, and I was like, are you kidding me?
You're telling me that Celeste is Finnick?
yeah.
If you had to choose someone.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna cry.
Oh my god.
I was watching your vlog today, Paige, and my jaw dropped to the floor because I totally forgot that happened. It's so violent.
It's
in like
literally one line in the whole thing, and then like when she's like further along in the story again, she never mentions Celeste. Like, Celeste just disappeared from her memory, and I'm like, she died right in front of you. You were
Oh my god.
triggered.
Okay, I don't like when people do too much of like an obvious comparison between things. Like whenever there's like any sort of thing that is like a group of people or some sort of heist, people are like, oh, it's Six of Crows. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, it's a heist book. Not every heist book is Six of Crows. But reading this, I was like, this wants to be the Hunger Games. Like the beats that it hit, especially in the beginning, where it's like in the town and look, people are poor and look, this is her family, and she's put in the selection and the selection. It was like beat for beat the beginning of the Hunger Games, and I was like, girl, you thought you did something. You were like, what if I took the Hunger Games and I added a lot of water, just watered it down? And that's exactly how it reads.
You know what I found like the most unbelievable part was that the artists were 5s, when like the starving artists would have been the 7s, in my opinion.
Well, artists in our world are so like famous, or they're struggling.
Right.
Like, there's two, like there's one or the other, and for them to be kind of like in the middle in this world.
Okay, because like the way that she's described the 5s, I'm like, so you're middle class. Like that's took if you can afford the 6s to come and clean your house.
Nice.
Are you really struggling?
There was another cast, and I don't remember what it was because it doesn't matter. But like there was one in there that also like didn't quite make sense between 4 and 1. That I was like, what? I don't remember what it was. But
I know that
the system didn't make sense to me.
The farmers are above the 5s.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I think
I felt like it was a little weird.
The one that got me was that she was like, oh, I'm going to be a 3 when I leave here. Maybe I can be a teacher. And I'm like, you're telling me teachers are valued in this society?
Yeah, that too.
Okay. I don't know. It's just like a lot of like unfilled in detail. Like she just throws out this thing about like all of these like different groupings or whatever without enough detail to make it feel like a full world.
Oh, and another thing is that like the whole society, like the upper class, and like someone just mentioned it in the comments about like the capital society, like those were like the cool things that we got from the Hunger Games, where it's like you wanted to see more of. And like Kiera Cass had the opportunity to give us more of like a capital-esque feel, and she didn't even like deliver on that, because there was like nothing that stood out to me besides the fact that it was just like they're in a castle, maybe, I don't know, and they're just doing things that like they get to wear pretty dresses, which I'm all for, because if I had this opportunity to live like that, I no question would do it. But there was like just a lack of uniqueness in the world building when it came to the ones.
Yeah. It was like we had 2 settings. We had her house and we had the castle. We didn't see any more of the world. She literally stood up on the castle and was like, oh, look, the forest. And I was like, the forest.
Then she also says, hey, look, there's the city. And I'm like, I thought we were in a forest. Why are we now in a city? I'm confused.
I couldn't picture this world at all. Like I could not, like I didn't even try to at any point picture the world. Like it was a blank. They were walking around in that white scene in Harry Potter when they're in King's Cross. Like there was no surroundings. It was just the people in my head.
Well, they're in Los Angeles, or like Angeles. I'm like,
yes.
So where's the forest? What forest are you referring to?
Didn't even pick up on that part.
The desert?
Are they in like the redwood? Like what is what? Like oh my god!
But there's also a city.
Like,
I don't know.
She used terms too that would like take me out of the story, because I'm like picturing this futuresque type of society, kind of like the Hunger Games. But then she's like talking about like the girls getting into her jeans and then going to the movies, and I'm like,
right,
that feels 2012. Like,
yeah. Like I also like at the very beginning, I had a very hard time picturing, like what kind of world it was, because I think even at the beginning, like her mom was cooking or something, and I was like, what utensils are we using? Like exactly how far like out of society are we at this point in this dystopia? And there was no way to kind of pin what it looked like, which is again why it was just a white background in my head.
A video I was watching basically said it was like our present day, but if we had a monarchy, like that is.
It didn't feel that way. It did not feel that way. I mean, you can't introduce something like, hey, everybody has now like a ranking, and that determines what you do, which is so different from our world. But people still go to the movies. Like I don't know.
He threw cell phones in there too at one point.
And did they go to the post office to take those pictures in the beginning? Yes. I was like, this is weird. It's like I'm picturing my own post office, which doesn't fit into the selection. And
yeah,
I was just confused.
I also get really weirded out when like dystopians or some kind of like futuristic world puts in a monarchy, because I'm like, you could do something different with this. Like, I get that there's people that want to be dictators. We've seen it, current times, but like an actual monarchy, I'm like, I just don't feel like our society would like default to a monarchy. Like, I think that you could do something, tweak it a bit to make it feel a little bit different and like evolved. And for some reason, all these books default to like, well, when the world collapses, we have kings again. And I'm like, right. I'm like, I don't think that's what would happen necessarily.
Yeah, the way they explain the monarchy later on is he marries, like his daughter marries somebody who is already in a monarchy somewhere else, and that makes them a monarchy. I don't understand how it works, but that was the explanation I was given. So
George Ilya led a wonderful battle and won, and then somehow got the kingship.
I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense because doesn't that happen to like George Washington, you know, like with being a president? But like, I just don't feel like we'd go to kings and a monarchy. Like, I think there could be like, create a new political system, man. Like, you're a writer, like, make it up.
The thing is that we, in this 40 minutes, have given this more thought than Kiera Cass ever gave. Like, that is the thing, is that in order to enjoy this at all, you have to think about it not at all. And I don't think it deserves a 3-star rating because you literally cannot think about it for 1 second, or else it stops making sense. I kind of wanted to talk about. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was reading the comments.
You're like, oh damn. Okay, so we talked about kind of like the plot, I guess, and what happens during the book, but let's talk about that ending, I guess, or I don't know, the beats that this hits, because I feel like I really was not angry at this until I got to the end. And I already knew, like, I'd read this previously, so I was a little bit aware, but I did not, like, I wasn't even prepared for it to be literally like, I guess I like them both.
Okay, so I'm thinking more about this, and I think The Selection and The Elite should have been one book. And then, but publishing split it into a trilogy. So they're like, let's just cut it off here because that kind of makes sense. And we'll pick it up in the next book.
It's enough of an ending for a midpoint to move on from.
I mean, there's no plot. So she could end it anywhere. She could have ended it at any point. We could have been in mid-rebel invasion and been like, the end, and it'd be like, makes sense.
You know? What was the climax? What was the climax of this book?
I think it was either Aspen coming back, maybe, but that was pretty premature, or it was the final rebel attack when they tossed all the rooms.
And she saved her mates.
Oh, yes.
Oh, maybe, yeah, that selfless moment of her saving her maid in an act of just wonderful Americaness. That was maybe it. Maybe it was like making out with Aspen. Like, I mean, I can't even follow what the beats are really even supposed to be with this for the most part, unless I put the Hunger Games veneer on it, and then I'm like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So, but yeah, I mean, like, I ended it, and they all know because we were in a group chat, and I voiced them just saying, like at the end, because it was like, what was that even? Like, I mean, I'm not mad because I don't care and I'm not going to continue, but like, you made me read a whole thing, like hoping for plot. Because I was hoping at the end, at least it'd be like, here's this conflict. And I'd be like, okay, like I get it. But
or like, I thought maybe like the prince would catch them kissing and then I would be like, oh, Tristan, but I love her. Like, ooh, damn, that's drama, right? But,
I think Maxon only finds out with 10% to go in the one.
It's literally right at the end of the third book he finds out. It's so bad.
Stop.
Like, she can't even put conflict into the books. Like, it's like she doesn't even know how. Like, that's
the worst part is,
alarming.
By that point, she doesn't like Aspen anymore. She only likes Maxon.
So she has Aspen walk her down the aisle.
Yep.
Stop.
I can't.
Well, plot like about the Bachelor aspect. I think I was more frustrated because I just watched the show. Lainey told me to watch it. It's called Unreal, and it's about the Bachelor. So it's like a drama. And there's so much you can do with that trope, and just nothing. There was just nothing. Like, no. Like, not even the potential at all in this book. So that's like what was in my head the whole time, too. So
I also get frustrated. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little frustrated by this book. I just get frustrated because I feel like there is stuff that you turn to that is like, we recorded a podcast episode earlier. We were talking about like the things that your last two brain cells can enjoy. And sometimes you need that media that it's like my last two brain cells got together and they were like, this is the one. But that stuff doesn't have to be like inherently bad. And this is just bad. We're talking about a book that has no plot.
Right.
And no characterization, no plot progression, no learning. There's no coming of age. Our main character doesn't learn anything. We don't know who our main character is. We don't know what world we're in. We have two settings. We go to two places. And then she ends the book by falling asleep. Like, this is not good.
That's the thing, is like what's so like almost kind of fascinating about this book is that like I have nothing to be mad at because nothing happens, and yet I'm angry. Like, it's just like, because it was very easy to read. Like, people are like, oh, it's fluffy, it's cotton candy, and I'm like, true, it's not even cotton candy, it's like water. Like, you can just drink as much of it, like it, but it's not good for you. Like, so what is that, Mountain Dew? I don't know. Like, it's a weird phenomenon of like, I have nothing to be angry at, and yet I'm mad.
I mean, okay, wait. Let's see if we can name some positives, because for sure, this is one of the easiest things I've ever read in my life.
Yes.
It is. I read it so quickly. Yeah. I mean, that goes back to the fact that there's no friction, there's nothing to stop you, there's no plot, there's no anxiety, there's no moment of like, ooh, I need to collect myself because something just happened. You just read, and it's a very basic language, not a lot of description. We just get a lot of, she uses the narrative question a lot to think about. She's like, why would my mom do this, and what was Maxon feeling, and why would he do that, why would he ask her out, what did they do on their date? And that's how she progresses her plot, is just asking questions. And I'm like, I don't know, girl, you're telling me this story, so if you don't know, I don't know. And that's basically her writing style. But it is very readable. Like, you get through it 300 pages in an instant. So yay.
Yeah.
Any other positives?
You can listen to it on 4 speed on audio. Like, can you say that for any other book in existence? Probably.
I was listening on 2, and I'm like, ooh, I'm doing good this time.
Yeah, I was sitting there on my walk, like, because I started at like 2.75, and then I was like, no, bump this up. And I kept going until it was like, this is the peak, and I can just sit here, and I think I finished it in like 4 hours, less than that, because it's not that long an audiobook.
Yeah, it was like an 8-hour audiobook.
Yeah.
In 2 hours.
I mean, I guess another plus is like, I mean, I don't really care, but like, did people like the descriptions of the dresses and stuff? Like, because it is like a fashion-y dresses book.
I don't think that was particularly done well either,
They're
though.
really reaching, to sort through everything.
All she did was like name the color of the dress and tell us if it had a cap sleeve. Like, that's not.
Wait,
so true.
Speaking of, isn't it at one point, didn't America wore kitten heels? Wasn't that a thing that happened? I remember
she
being
did.
Like, kitten heels, girl. Like, of all the things that you could wear, that proves a lot to me about.
I don't know what a kitten heel is.
It's a heel that is this big, Connor, and it's like it's not even a heel. Like, why would you even wear a heel? You could just
might as well wear a flip flop.
Like, you don't need to wear a kitten heel. They make your legs look awful. Like, there's no reason. Like, it's for someone that wants to wear. I don't even wear heels. I don't know why I'm getting this mad, but it's for somebody that wants to wear a heel but like can't walk in them. So like, you wear a kitten heel, but like, it's not better. Wear a flat.
If I could sit down, I should say too that we talked about a Cassandra Clare book. Somebody asked us, and they're like, are you going to get into the drama with Kiera Cass? Because she was involved in some drama around the time that this was released, I guess. And I was like, listen, we did a Cassandra Clare book, and we don't got time to go into drama. Like, if we were going to sit down and do like a drama recap of every author we covered, like it would take a lot. And I met Kiera Cass in passing. We were at Y'all Fest, and she came up to the group where we were standing, and she was really sweet. She had the biggest bow you would ever see in your entire life.
It was like this big.
Yeah.
She's literally the like sunshine personification that you would imagine wrote this very wholesome nothing book. So she was very nice to us. But if I could like sit down with her again, I'd be like, girl, why did you want your main character to want nothing? She wanted nothing. Like, I don't understand why she couldn't want anything for herself. Like, she didn't want to win. She didn't want to make friends. She just didn't want anything. Why? All of you are looking at me like you were like, we don't know. Really
you don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine.
You wanted money for her family?
I do think that this book was so, like, as we've said, that it follows the Hunger Game beats. I don't think there's anything wrong with an author cashing in necessarily on like a very popular thing. I can't see a world in which this was like, I don't think this was Kiera Cass's like baby that she's been writing since she was 11. Like, this was like the Hunger Games was successful. I love The Bachelor. Let's do like the Hunger Games meets The Bachelor. Like, I can't see a world in which that wasn't the situation. You know, that it was like, this is what's popular. I'm going to write a book like that. Just pop it out, because I'm sure it didn't take like that long to write. No shade. Good for you. If you can write a book in like 2 months, wonderful. So like,
it helps if you don't worry about a plot, I hear.
Right. And she made bank on it, and now she's getting a like TV show. Like, good for you, girl.
Isn't there a
like,
new book, or is this new book completely unrelated to the like selection stuff?
What was it?
She has a new book?
Didn't she
Yeah.
have a siren
Oh,
one?
yeah, The Betrothed.
Is it different than the selection?
It has a pretty girl in a pretty dress on the cover. So
But I think it has a different plot.
Keep discussing, and I'll look what Goodreads says, because no one's talked about it. Like, I have
there's
not heard
no books in
anyone.
the selection series.
I have heard one person say it wasn't good, and that's it.
Well, I mean,
It is. So people in the comments are saying it is an Esther retelling. So bear
It's
that in
on the
mind.
bestseller list.
Betrothed. Well, to be fair, the bestseller list, like, if people see a name they recognize, they pick up the book. So, when King Jameson declares his love for Lady Hollis Bright, Hollis is shocked and thrilled. After all, she's grown up at Carescan Castle, vying for the king's attention alongside other daughters of the nobility. Capturing his heart is a dream come true. But Hollis soon recognizes that falling in love with the king and being crowned queen may not be the happily ever after she thought it would be. And then she meets a commoner with a mysterious power to see into her heart. And she finds that the future she really wants is one that she never thought to imagine. That sounds like nothing. That sounds like nothing. That
Her
sounds like
brand is
nothing. And it's a trilogy again. It's book one in a series. Bless her heart, though. Make money, girl.
She's getting paid.
It's fine.
Yeah, I predicted that I would be more upset at this book at the end of talking about this, and that is true. I am more upset about this book.
Lainey,
It didn't take up that much time to read, but all of the time that it took was wasted, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I wasn't doing anything else, so like, I don't consider it wasted time. But if I read this during a time when I was busy, I'd be pissed.
I feel like I didn't mind the book just because it asked nothing of me as a reader. And I needed that at the time I was reading it. I just needed something to pass the time with. So like, compared to other things I'm currently reading, it was great.
I've been reading like a lot of high fantasy, so like I was like, I really don't want to read this. So like every page I was just like, but I got through it. It's fine. It was easy to read.
Was sneakily reading it at work and didn't miss anything, so it was good for that.
Did we miss anything? Anybody in the comments have any questions for us?
Yeah,
Like,
you guys have any questions?
I only got through one cider, so I'm gonna do the rest of this.
Jordan, are they warm?
They are. I took them out of the fridge.
Jordan, love yourself.
They're better this way.
Well,
I'm waiting to see if anybody else.
I know, yeah. If anyone has any questions,
Lainey had
comments, or
something she wanted
concerns.
to say before.
Sorry?
Lainey had something she wanted to say about.
Lainey's not on the screen anymore at this point, so we're gonna wait. Lainey's getting another drink, I think.
Somebody says, okay, this could be spoilery, but who cares? Honestly, you've spoiled most of this. But what is so bad about the 4th and 5th book?
Isn't it about
Jordan, this is all
If
you.
you thought that America was an annoying and terrible main character, their daughter is like leaps and bounds worse. She's even more like indecisive, and she's the first princess to have a selection because normally they get married off. And so she's just in the same boat as her dad. She complains about there being 35 guys she has to choose from, hates all of them, complains for 2 books, and that's it.
Well, at least that they've started to like reverse on those gender roles maybe a tiny bit, knowing that she got a selection, because this society is so one where like you only the women move up and down. Like all the guys just stay exactly where they are, and only princesses stay like they just move to a different country or whatever. Because they were talking about how like if she marries him, then she moves Aspen, she moves down, but like he can't just move up, which was like okay.
I feel like that would make more sense. Like move to the higher class, but
I guess it could be commentary on how like it's hard to move up and down social classes even in our current United States.
So the next question is, if you could change the series, how would you change it to make it better?
Take out the rebels and make it one book just about the romance element of it.
That's probably the hardest choice. Like my brain went to flesh out the world building, but I don't even think that's worth it. Like
No.
focus on what you want to focus on, which is the Bachelor element. Make it like really dramatic and good, and go with that. And don't focus on it being like they're being rebels or trying to make it an actual dystopian.
I would actually also focus on the girls more and developing the side characters more, so that you have something to root for or like.
I think that they could have also made it like a satire and made it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like making fun of The Bachelor instead of like trying to make it real.
Yeah, I think that this didn't need to be a dystopian. I would almost set it in like a fake country, like very Genovia.
Yeah.
And be like, in this fake country, this is just how they pick the princess. And then just make it about the selection and this prince trying to choose her princess. There's absolutely no reason to have all of this like rebel and China and Russia and debt stuff, because just what, add murder. I mean, especially if you're going to kill America Singer is what I'm saying.
I think Alexa has a great point. Adding murder and making it like almost like a cozy mystery, like they're all trapped in the castle, would make it so interesting. And like girls are getting killed off and stuff. And now is it by other girls or is it by someone else? That would be fun.
Okay, I have a question.
Sign up for that.
Like I would read that.
In the future, does she have any other like I don't know, role in like the uprising, the rebels, politics at all? Like
they have an assignment for like the TV show that they're on every Friday, where they have to like propose this like charity that they're gonna start up when they become the one, if they are. And America suggests, because she's angry at Maxon and she wants to do like the worst thing possible, to destroy the caste system, but not because she reads a diary about the guy who starts the country. There's so much explanation. But also, Northern rebels come, they like her, they want her to be the queen. That's the short end of it. But she never does anything like actively. At the end of the series, Maxon suddenly has like a proposal to destroy the caste system. I'm like, when did you do this? You got shot? You were dying? But suddenly, a couple of days later, you have this proposal? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I guess I thought about it because I was just like, if there were murder, I'm going back to Alexa's idea, at least she could be like trying to solve the murder, and that adds a little bit more like agency to what she's doing there versus like not wanting to be there. So then I thought, well, maybe in the future, because I kept expecting her to, like Connor said, I think, like to meet a rebel or to like broker peace or I don't know, do something, but she never did anything. So I was just wondering if she ever gets there.
Her dad's a rebel. Yeah. We find out after he dies.
Yeah.
In book 3 also.
So in the same scene that Celeste dies, so does the king and queen off screen, by the way. And then like 2 pages later, she visits Maxon in the hospital and he's like, we're going to dissolve the cast. And that's pretty much the end of the series.
And he's already king. There's already been like, I guess no ceremony or anything. He's just king and he's decided to destroy the caste system. Yeah.
I'm sure that would go over well.
Really well.
Yeah, countries love when you like mess up like the structure of like how they've been doing stuff for a while. You know, like they love that when that happens.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh man, I really didn't like this. People were talking about the Name America singer in the comments.
I honestly don't think that the Name America.
I think I hated on it more when I originally read it, but this time it was like, it's whatever. Like, truly the least of my worries, I guess.
I just think that so many other books do a similar thing with naming their characters that it's like not that surprising. Or
it is very typical, like 2012 weird dystopian name situation.
I mean, PETA is named after a type of bread, and he's the son of people that make bread. So.
Oh no. I love PETA.
But yeah, there was like I'm just gonna give you guys information that you'll never learn if you don't read the series, but they named the people. Like the names were given to them based on what they did. So like they didn't get a choice in their naming, which felt sort of like slavery when people were given Christian names when they became slaves. But of course it's never explored. So it's just a passing fact that you get as you read the diary.
I always just assumed, I guess, well, because I don't know this information, I just assumed that the last names were like occupation last names, like Smith and like Chandler and stuff like that.
Right.
But if they're like assign the name, that's way.
What was Aspen's last name? Did we?
Aspen Tree, probably, or something.
Ledger, I think.
Ledger.
Aspen Cleaner. Okay, wait. I have one more thing I wanted to complain about, and I completely forgot. So I understand that exposition is like part of everything that we do when we read, but I thought it was so hilarious. Like when in the middle of this book, we got a plot appropriate like history lesson. And it's just like, girls, you need to learn how to use a fork and a knife, and now we're going to tell you the history of this country. And it was just like, it was like, oh, wow. That's how you're going to tell me the 5 facts I need to know about this country. And then she would say things like, oh, back in the day, they had things called Halloween, but I don't know what that is.
That annoyed me so much. The thing about the holidays, I was like, shut the fuck up. Like,
how do you find out enough to know that Halloween was a holiday, but you didn't even get like past that or something?
Also, holidays are so like embedded in culture and history that like we wouldn't just get rid of them. They just evolve into something else. So like at least be aware of history enough to be like, oh, we just changed it to something else instead of like, oh, we just got rid of that. No, you wouldn't. No,
also,
you wouldn't.
like, what's the religion? What's the religion of this society? We don't even know.
I don't think they have one, do they?
And then she was like, oh my God, I'm 18 and I never questioned why. We don't have history in our country. Like, just realized we never got history. That's so crazy. Anyway, what dress am I wearing tonight? And I was like, oh, girl. Why?
Halloween was especially bad because Halloween is like such an interesting holiday because it's like such a combination of so many different cultures that have had like super long traditions around that time. So it's just like, how do you not have any idea that it's what it is? So
that's what I'm saying. Like all of our secular holidays, at least in America, have like a history of being like pagan, like way back in the day. So it's like it would just what would happen is whatever the current religion was or whatever the current belief system was would take it and morph it like they've done over and over and over again. So like it just didn't make sense to be like, oh, we just got rid of those holidays. No, you wouldn't. You would change it. Like that's what societies do.
Or again, I'm going back to the religion, but the fact that they like are a monarchy with no religious ties also just seems so not real.
Yeah.
Ordained by God.
Right?
You know, like who's ordaining you? Maxim. Like, why are you
I mean, I just defaulted into thinking, I mean, I didn't give it thought, but as soon as you were like, what's the religion? I was like, it's Christianity, it's white. Like, or, like
I mean,
that's
was
what
my
it is.
default too, but like there was no exploration of that at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the lack of people of color, but you know, that's
not even bother getting.
I mean, I did
that
feel
got abolished with Halloween. Black people, Halloween, out of here.
Did she even try to make it like racially ambiguous? Like I don't like the descriptors were just not there.
No.
I know that America has red hair, so it's just a red hair floating in the like white, like that's what the whole thing was. I don't know how anyone looked.
I think there were two people who had ties to East Asia.
Was that Tiny? Because I felt like Tiny was
and
coded.
Elise.
Yeah, Tiny Lee was, I think, racially coded a bit. So that was the only one I was like, well, I think there was an Asian girl. Oh, she named her Tiny. Okay.
And then everybody, I think the majority of them were blondes. Like blondes.
Of course, because it was
blonde,
they're vapid, they wear makeup.
And then she was like, I'm the only redhead.
It's like, girl, you would have been the only redhead anyway.
Oh man, this is so bad. I don't know, Jordan's in backstage, so I feel bad saying this, but I feel like, Jordan, you rated this higher than the Glass Hotel?
Wait, what?
The problem with I rated them the same. I rated them both 3 stars.
I mean, not okay, but
the problem with the Glass Hotel is that I am either too stupid for that book or it is too smart for me. It's very like literature based, and I know nothing about literature or English like proper things because I didn't study that in school. I was a science major. I'm sorry.
Literary devices.
I was a science major, so I'm just not really like well versed in that stuff. But like this mindless fluff, I understand. Like my brain could wrap around it.
Jordan rates books with her heart. And she feels deeply.
I'm sorry, it just happened.
I love the difference between how you rate books and how you rate Oreos.
Listen, Jordan is the most critical Oreo reviewer in this whole group.
For real.
She has history. She has opinions. Let that be known. She has deep feelings about Oreos.
Depends on that note.
The cream to cookie ratio. Oh my god.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry if we had any
Did we miss questions?
selection fans in the comments or watching or whatnot. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's what you gotta sign up for here at House Salt. But we do have a new pick for the month of June. It took me a while to realize what month we were in, and it's probably not surprising. It's a big release. It's coming up, pretty popular. So we're going to be reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So this is the prequel in the Hunger Games series. Paige has already started reading and warning us about it.
I'm not going to say anything. I'll save it all for next month.
Save it all for the next live show. And we've already got the next few picked out as well because we need a win after the string of books. But thank you so much for watching. We hope you will read along with us and join us next month as well. As you're reading, if you have any questions or things that you would like us to talk about, you can always find us on Twitter at House Salt Club. Is that correct?
Yes.
Cool. And then we always post all of the details for our live shows, and Connor takes really amazing pictures.
Yeah, shout out to Connor for the photos.
Yeah, Connor, he does these amazing flat lays that you guys can check out there. Like I said, thank you guys for joining us, for all of your lovely comments, for keeping us company. Stay safe, and we will see you guys next month. Bye.